I'm Johan Roshivega with Holyoke Media here in our studios in One Court Plaza in Holyoke, Massachusetts. And I have with me Cole Reyes, composer of this new series of the Victory Players, Puerto Abierto, the open port. Cole, thank you for being here with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, someone who is based in New York, but you have been in different places in the United States, and this has allowed you also to learn and have different experiences. And this also forms part of your background for what is going to be now this project with Victory Players, Puerto Abierto. What can you tell us about your experience that led you to be now part of this new project?
Yeah, so I'd been following the Victory Players for a couple of years now with some various colleagues that had all worked with the group and had really positive experiences working with them. And so when I saw the call, I was really excited to try to become a part of this. And so the experience, to this point, has been really wonderful. Being able to go out of the city, have a little bit time away from the hustle and bustle of New York City, come up to Western Massachusetts, and just kind of really take some time to be able to work intently on a new work, as well as alongside some other composers, as well as a fabulous conductor and some great players.
If you could describe a little bit how is your style or your approach to instrumentations or the way to structure your music compositions, how that will sound like?
Yeah, so for whenever I start a new piece of music, I really think a lot about the players that I'm going to be working with. Obviously I have a lot of ideas going through my head at any moment for things I could potentially write. But I really have found that it's much more successful when I'm able to actually get in the room with some players, find out what they really enjoy playing, what they're really good at playing. And so obviously I came into this residency with just a myriad of different ideas of things that I really wanted to try out with the ensemble. And actually we had a little bit of time earlier in the residency to be able to meet individually with each of the players and kind of talk about things that they've worked on that they've really enjoyed playing, things that are maybe trickier for them that I might not have known beforehand. And so I think that throughout that experience I was able to hone in a bit more how I might be able to approach writing the piece in its entirety.
So after having this experience of connecting with the musicians and their own skills and challenges in way to make sure that the piece has the best possible way to be performed, what are your thoughts? What are some ideas that you are now beginning to cultivate in order to have your piece for Puerto Abierto ready? Mm-hmm.
I think throughout this workshopping period, I've seen two things emerge as being somewhat favorites of the ensemble. The first of which is there was this section that I was just starting to flesh out that was very rhythmically intense. It was a lot of rhythms that kind of pass from one instrument to the other that are kind of paired with different instrument pairings. And every time I brought that to one of the players, they said, "Oh, this will be really cool. I can't wait to kind of see what we can make this into." And so I think after hearing that, I want to flesh out that section a bit more, just because I know that that's something that they're interested in, excited about, and also something that I'm interested in and excited about. So I think that's a good match. And then on top of that, I was really inspired to be able to work with these musicians on a bit more of a section that's kind of the antithesis of that, being much more open and allowing some sections for almost free improvisation, some sections that just kind of use the ensemble in a far different way than is very traditionally notated, traditionally formalized. And so I think throughout that section, you'll kind of have these two opposite ends of the spectrum that I think the Victory Players are going to do a great job at playing, but also gives me a bit of a challenge as a composer, given that I've only just begun to work in these two types of mediums. So I'm really excited to see where that takes me.
How does it feel for you to be here in Holyoke, where one of the largest, if not the largest, community of Puerto Rican people outside of Puerto Rico live, and you may have seen around how much of that representation is visible everywhere? How does that make a connection for you?
For me, I think it was fascinating to see the unexpected side of Western Massachusetts. I had friends that had grown up here, that had lived here, and I was familiar with some sort of, the college culture that is up here, with several elite universities that are just up the road. And on top of that, I love knowing that there is this entire other, population. There's an entirely different, culture and thing to immerse yourself in, that is beyond just, the pastures of Western Massachusetts, the hills and, the kind of rustic scenery. And I think that that's, a really beautiful and almost like easy thing to relate to, as an artist that, I've moved around a bunch, just in my time on this earth so far. And it's great to see, how different places can always surprise you. They can always give you something new to think about, something new to experience that you may not have ever experienced before. And so that's been really fascinating for me to, kind of take part in.
How this whole experience gives you the energy, the inspiration, the ideas to now have a structure to work with for your upcoming piece?
I think that what has been wonderful about this workshopping period is being able to actually get inside the room with the players before you've actually been able to finish the commission. We're not working on as hard of a deadline at this moment, where we're in the rehearsal process only of a piece. And instead, we're actually developing the piece alongside each other, which is all too rare in the music community. Usually if you receive a commission, you'll write the piece, you might get to go to a rehearsal that's probably a day before, week of the performance. And in that time, you might have a little bit of time to make some small edits, small tweaks here and there, but certainly nothing all that substantial. And I think what has been wonderful about this experience is that it's practically the opposite of that. You actually get all of the time with the group all at the front end before you really, dive in and, codify all of your ideas. And so in that way, it's not only, my voice as a composer coming through, but it's also the voice of the collaborators that's also coming through in the final work.
Well, it will be amazing to have the opportunity of listening to your piece once it is completed, and knowing that you had this involvement in it from its inception, and we can't wait for listening to your composition in this series, Puerto Abierto, Open Port. Cole, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.